Hey everyone, welcome back to episode 6 of Getting My STI Track Prepped. Today I'm actually both excited and not excited to do this video. The reason why I'm excited is because I don't think anyone's actually done a video on this specific install on a GD chassis before. What we're going to be doing is installing the White Line sway bar kit with end links on my 2007 STI, so front and rear. The reason why I'm a little worried is I actually bought this off of a different STI owner, also an STI Limited, but he kind of just gave me like a bag of bolts and no install instructions, and I can't actually find the install instructions online. So we're gonna kind of have to figure it out as we go. There's a lot of washers here that all seem very important, don't really know where they go, but I'm sure we will figure it out together. Right, so unlike other videos, I actually don't have a list of like what you will need and what you won't need, parts wise and bolts wise. So I'm probably just gonna put things down in the description. All right, so I've done a little bit of deciphering on the internet. So I've actually found out that I have a White Line sway bar kit for the sway bars, and then I have Cartboy end links. That's what the guy gave me. So I guess he didn't even know what he had in his car. I've separated out what I think comes all in the Cartboy kit. So you should have a set of 16 bolts, or sorry, a set of 8 bolts, 8 nuts, and then you should have a set of 4 end links, front and rear. The front, I believe, are the longer ones. The shorter ones are, I believe, are for the rear. And then you should have a set of 16 washers. 8 of them will be thin washers. Future Miguel here. The washers don't mean anything. I wanted to just keep the next couple minutes of discourse in so that you kind of see the troubleshooting process that comes along with not having proper work instructions and not having bought the parts yourself. And just to highlight that you need the Cartboy spacers for this. The washers are irrelevant. You do need them, but the washer thickness means nothing. Washers and the other 8 will be thicker washers. It's really unclear. It's to tell kind of where they go. It's also difficult to tell that one is thicker than the other, but there is a difference. So if I was to just kind of like hold these up, you could, hold on, let me see if I can see this, if you guys can see this. Oh, focus. Just trust me, one set is thicker than the other, and it is important that they go in a certain order. No, it's not. Unfortunately for me, Cartboy is undergoing a overhaul of their installation instructions, so they're not available online. But what I did do is I went on Naziok and I found a 14-year-old post with, thankfully, the picture still intact, where it looks like the assembly should be that the bolt head, right, of this nut should mate up against the thick part of the washer. So a thick washer with the nut right here, or sorry, with the bolt right here, and then a thin washer should go with the nut. And that this orientation right here should be facing towards the wheel, is what I could gather from my research by digging up, all this information in the archives. So I'm gonna assemble all of them, assuming that that's the way that they want me to assemble it, but I'm not sure. I also found that there are a set of 4 washers here. I have no idea where these go. These don't look like they belong to the White Line kit. These don't look like they belong to this Cartboy kit. So I'm just gonna set them aside for now, and hopefully we'll find out where they go along the way. So kind of just like a zoom in view here. You can see this is thicker clearly than this one. But if you were to like kind of have them all out in a bag, you wouldn't be able to tell. But So there's the nut here, and here's the bolt head here. The thick one, from what I saw in the forum post, looks like it should fit here, and then the thin one should fit here. I'm guessing, who knows? Right, so turns out that the person that sold me these probably never drove their car, which makes sense because when I bought it from him, the engine was pulled out of the car because it was being built, and you actually need a set of spacers that Cartboy sells specifically for installation with the white line kit. I should have researched that before, but I guess I didn't know. Their good thing is that they're pretty cheap. They're only like $7 for the front, and then I bought an extra set for the rear because people were saying online that the fronts definitely need it, but the rears might not need it. So I'm just gonna order two. It's only $14, total $26 with shipping, and that should be here next week. I'm not gonna let that block me from installing the sway bars and getting a majority of this fitted up, just because I can still get a lot of this in place and ready for when that arrives. So I'll probably film this in like two parts, removal of the sway bars and then installation of these, and then lastly, installation of the end links. This is kind of why I don't like buying parts off of other people, is because you never know what they're including, and you never know like if they actually ran it on their car and tested that it worked. Like you might save a little bit of money, but in my opinion, I feel like I'm saving my time, which is more valuable, by just ponying up, buying the parts new. And that way I know that everything I bought was compatible with everything else that I bought. But live and learn. Probably never going to buy stuff off Facebook Marketplace. Oh well. All right, first order of business underneath the car is we're going to have to disconnect the end links from the sway bar. And then this is kind of the most difficult part, I think, on the rear is you're going to have to drop the charcoal canister so that you can get access. I'm not sure if you can see right here. Let me maybe shine a light. There you go. So you can get some access to this bolt right here. Otherwise it's like blocked by this hose. Or I might try to use a wobble bit on this. But I would probably recommend just zipping off these bolts here, lowering the charcoal canister a little bit, and then that should get you access to this rear sway bar link on the passenger side. Yeah, I'll check in with you once I've done that. Okay, so it's maybe like 3 or 4 hours later. I got that one sway bar out, or not that sway bar. I got that end link out. Turns out that it was rust welded in, and I actually had oh fuck, it's hot. I actually had to get, I had to cut it in half, the nut, and then pry it out. That's the only way that I was able to get it. So I think I'm actually just gonna take a break for the day because that took it out of me. Never surrender, never give up. Okay, so never defeated, just momentarily tired. I decided I would try really slowly to get the other side off. The other side was a lot more cooperative. So I actually now have the rear sway bar out, which means I'm now gonna work on the front sway bar. Hopefully that comes out a lot easier than the rear. And then something I also wanted to point out is that you might think that this bracket here is omnidirectional so that you could kind of flip it whichever way you want. You can't. It goes on a certain way. So just make sure to take a picture of how this thing went on before you remove it. That way you're not left guessing. Now we're on the front. That's a little more complicated. So it's going to be 14 millimeter for this lower end link down there. I've already gotten it loose. Pro tip, I already struggled with this one. When I first got the car, this is actually the first thing I replaced on it. So these came out really easily. And then underneath the car, you're gonna need to get this lower subframe brace out. And I'm gonna drop a picture of all the bolts that you're gonna need to unbolt so that you get access to the sway bar right now. All right, life update. Got the front sway bar out. Those end links were really easy. However, as you can see, you kind of have to drop your whole H-frame if you're on a GD chassis, which this video is specifically for, as well as the subframe bolts, the subframe brace, just to get this thing out. You don't technically have to drop the H-frame. You could get to those sway bar bushing bolts with a really thin ratchet. I don't recommend it though. It's just easier to drop the H-frame and then pull out the bolts in the sway bar. It's just a series of 10mm bolts up front and then 17mm bolts along the side near your wheel, and then two 15mm bolts all the way at the end with 14mm bolts somewhere in the middle. Man, that was a lot of work. And honestly, with that, guys, I'm gonna close out this part of the video as a part 1, then a part 2 after, just because this time I really am beat. It's like 6 p.m. I haven't eaten all day, and this is just a lot harder than it needed to be. I'll wait for those Cartboy spacers to come in, and once those come in, then I'll be ready to just fully install these sway bars here, along with these end links, and that'll be it. All right, have a great day, everyone. Before I close out, I just want to make sure that I give a shout out to Harbor Freight Tools. My whole toolbox is Harbor Freight, and for as much abuse as I give these tools, they've never failed me. Even when I'm failing and I'm like getting really stressed out, I've had really dependable results with these tools and they've never let me down. So just shout out to those Harbor Freight Tools. And yeah, if you're into cars and you're on a budget, Harbor Freight is the way to go.